We had a ton of positive feedback last time we did this, so this will be something we are doing very often from now on. Now, I'm not just going to do this once a week. We're probably going to do this multiple times a week. So if somehow you're catching these late, if you are unable to make these live and you say, hell, Mason, it sounds like a pretty fun time coming out, hanging out in a live stream, getting all my questions answered, and getting to watch a draft at the same time, make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. I'm sure you're already subscribed, but you're not going to get notified whenever we go live unless you hit that bell. And you know what we are going to do? We are going to answer these questions as we go through and hop into some of these fantasy football drafts. Now, the first draft we are going to hop into is going to be the puppy draft on Underdog Fantasy. This is going to be the $5 buy-in, $75,000 the first. We'll get a best ball mania going a little bit later. That's $2 million the first place. This is going to be the 12-team league. That first place gets paid, second place gets paid, and then you have a small percentage of every league pot getting set aside for that massive tournament at the very end. This should be exciting. We got 6 spots open in this draft for anybody who's wanted to come out and get in here. Hopefully we get something good. I will say we've drafted a couple of these teams already today, and I actually ended up pulling Justin Jefferson at the 109. We got Justin Jefferson at the 109, which was very exciting. I'll send the link to Underdog Fantasy in the live chat for anybody who's wanting to get into our next draft. And let's see where we are drafting. I'm not going to focus too much on the draft. I'm going to be focusing more so on just overall trade questions as well as strategy questions. And come on, one more spot. Let's see where we are. Come on, give us something good. Give us something good. Give me something in the middle. I've been drafting at the end in every single draft. At the 102. I only drafted the 101, 102, 103, or 110, 111, 112. I don't know why, but let's go through. Let's pull up this chat. And if you have not done so already, please make sure you go down there and drop a like on the live stream as well. So let's find our first question. This is coming out from ETN. Says, traded 2023 first and third for J.K. Dobbins and a 2023 second. If it's going to be a super flex format, I honestly don't love the idea of trading that 2023 first right now for essentially J.K. Dobbins. Now, it's a fair price, 100%. I'm not going to be able to not deny the fact that it is a fair price if you are wanting to go get J.K. Dobbins. It's more so, we've been talking about it for God knows how long. We coined the term 2023 picks are Dynasty Gold. Now, of course, a lot of other people want to go copy us with it. It is what it is. But with those picks, there's no reason to be moving them now when we know that we can wait until the season. And then if you want to move that pick still by the time we get to the season, you can then go through and you can flip it for exactly what you want in a profitable transaction with a productive player at that moment. Okay, so let's find our next one. And Dak coming out says, Justin Fields over Tua, ? It is interesting. If you pull up our dynasty rankings, Justin Fields and Tua Tagovailoa are going to be in the same tier. I'll say if you have Jalen Waddle, if you have Tyreek Hill, and you want to go through and build around the Miami Dolphins stack, hell, yeah, go with Tua Tagovailoa. But in a 4-point passing touchdown format, while I agree that Tua's definitely in a much better place to succeed this upcoming season than Justin Fields, given the fact that Justin Fields has Darnell Mooney as his wide receiver 1, and then possibly Byron Pringle as his second option compared to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I get it, but you will have some rushing upside with Justin Fields, which will give him more fantasy football value in particular. So I think they're in the same tier. I do think it's up to you. If it was a 6-point passing touchdown format, there I would be willing to discount the rushing production just slightly and possibly change my tone over to Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, yeah, so here we are going to go Cooper Kupp at the 102. Not too much to discuss. Our next question coming out from Tiz says, Garrett Wilson and a 2023 second or George Pickens and a 2023 first round pick. I would 100% do the deal if we were moving Garrett Wilson for George Pickens in the 2023 first. Now, if we were adding a second into that, there it gets a little murky, and I will say it's fair value. I do think it's up to you if that's going to be the way you're going. 1 second, I'll get back to this. And y'all know what we were doing. And if somehow you don't know if you've been living under a rock, if you've had no joy in your life, because you probably haven't had joy in your life if you haven't done this already, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. That is where we are drafting right now. That's where you're going to be drafting every single day. We live stream here probably every other day, and we're going to live stream on that main fantasy football channel every single day until season kickoff with these Underdog Fantasy drafts, because I am addicted. I think there's nothing more fun on the planet than getting in these best ball leagues, not having to submit your starting lineup throughout the year. Real money fantasy football drafts. And when you sign up and you use promo code FLOCK through the link in the description or in the live chat, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You will get our 2022 rankings, our Dynasty rankings, our Dynasty rookie rankings. You'll get my 2022 Dynasty rookie draft guide. And most importantly, you'll get into drafts with us on the live stream. You'll be able to draft with your friends, draft in the public, have some fun, go get into drafts, go use promo code FLOCK. And let me send out this poll real quick, and then we should be good to go with our next question. Our next question here is coming out from Touch My G String, who says, I traded Zach Wilson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Trey Lance and a 2023 in Superflex. Oh, I know you're saying someone told you overpaid for Trey Lance. The person who told you overpaid for Trey Lance clearly is not a part of the flock. I love getting me some Trey Lance here. I don't even care. Yeah, Lance can be a bad quarterback. It doesn't matter with his rushing upside. It doesn't matter with the situation he's stepping into. He's going to be a fantastic option in Dynasty Superflex. I'm going all in on Trey Lance. I think that's a fine price to pay. Okay, so let's go through and find our next question. And this is coming out from Shu. He says, thinking of offering Adam Thielen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Devin Singletary, and a late third. Okay, please, like I said, never be projecting those picks out. If you're wanting to trade a third-round pick, hell, that's fine. Go trade a third-round pick. I don't freaking care. Let's not say it's a late third, early third. No, it's a third. For Deebo Samuel and Zach Wilson. Is that offering too much or too little? So let's go back and just walk through this. The third-round pick is legitimately nothing. We'll take it, throw it out the window, and ignore it. So if we're looking at Adam Thielen and Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Deebo Samuel, I prefer Deebo Samuel. If we're looking at Devin Singletary versus Zach Wilson, assuming that this is a super flex format, because that's all we talk about, yeah, there I'm still going to prefer to go through, and I'm going to prefer to grab Zach Wilson. So I think you're probably offering too little, at least if you offer that to me. I wouldn't think about it. I'd probably roll my eyes, and I'd probably move on. Okay, so Travis coming out says, on a contender in Superflex, do I trade Terry McLaurin for the 105? He's my wide receiver 4. I know you're a contender, but I will say in my own Dynasty rankings, I personally do have Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Kenneth Walker, all over Terry McLaurin. So yes, I would make the trade. I would understand if you don't want to, though, on a contending team. So now we are on the clock. I'm going to go through and I'm going to take T. Higgins. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming at me for going T. Higgins over Leonard Fournette. It is what it is. This isn't my first rodeo. We do this all the time. We do this all the time. I promise you, I think we have a pretty good feel on what we are doing at this point in these drafts. Okay. And if you don't agree with me, hell, stick around till round 10. And hell, if you think I'm a horrible drafter, I got great news for you. Literally, Underdog Fantasy is paying you to sign up and draft against me. Go use promo code FLOCK. Okay, so I was probably going to go with a Josh Allen if he made it to us so we could get that T. Higgins, Josh Allen Week 17 matchup. It is what it is with him going off the board now. I think we probably still stick to our original plan. Do we still go with the wide receiver? No, we'll just grab Nick Chubb here. It is what it is. We'll go Nick Chubb. This is not an exciting start, to say the least. Let's move that up so we don't have that bothering us later on. Okay, so our next question coming out from Francisco says, a big trade, 106, 110, David Njoku and Kadarius Toney for the 104, Dawson Knox, 203, and a 2023 third. What are you thinking? Okay, so let's break this down. 106 for the 104. That's a big move because with that 104, you are going to get a Treylon Burks. You're going to possibly in some drafts get a Drake London, but you are going to be getting a player that's a tier above what you would be looking at the 106. So that actually is a decent move. You're moving Dawson Knox for the 110. I probably prefer the 110. The 203 for Kadarius Toney and David Njoku. I think it's a fair trade. I probably would just sit put if we have the 104 side, wait until we're on the clock, because I do think there is a chance that Drake London somehow, some way makes it to you at the 104 based on some of these drafts that I've seen. Okay, so now our next one coming out from Anything with a J says Bateman and Kareem Hunt for Treylon Burks in a 3 wide receiver league where I have Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, Antonio Gibson, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I personally would prefer Treylon Burks here. I know with Treylon Burks, some people, for whatever reason, are down on the man because he left a practice early. Like, is that the point of the offseason we are at? Please, get off of Twitter. Do not worry about things that simply don't matter, like Treylon Burks leaving a practice early and you taking that one practice that a beat reporter tweeted out something random about and you adjusting your Dynasty fantasy football rankings, those rankings that are supposed to be set for years to come. You're projecting a player years out. Don't adjust those rankings in your projections for a player that are years out based on one practice. Let's go. Let's keep Treylon Burks. I know I'm not saying that you're doing that. I'm just giving that announcement because I've had some questions regarding Treylon Burks lately. Okay, so now Daniel says, what do you take Pitts in non-tight end premium? I'm assuming you're asking, where do I take Kyle Pitts in a non-tight end premium? I'm going to assume a Superflex startup. It's going to be at the end of the first, the beginning of the second. I mean, if y'all read our Dynasty research book, the difference between a 1.5 points per reception for the tight end position in a regular PPR league, it's not a lot. There's not much difference at all. Quentin coming out says a 10-team, 1-quarterback league, half PPR, side A, Jamar Chase, side B, Christian McCaffrey, Rashad Bateman, and a second. Current Chase manager also has a Burrow, and both teams are contending. This would be a trade. Like if you go through and if you trade away Jamar Chase for Christian McCaffrey and Rashad Bateman, next offseason, you are hating yourself. The only way you don't hate yourself if you make that trade is somehow, some way, if you win the title this year. If you win the title this year with Christian McCaffrey, sure, you're going to be fine with it. There's just no reason to take that risk, in my opinion. I would go through. I would just keep Jamar Chase. He has the elite ceiling for this season and in the long term at the same time. Okay, so let's go to our next question. Coming out from Austin, says Najee Harris or Travis Etienne, Mike Williams, and a 2023 first. Okay, so looking through this, I would say if you could flip Mike Williams for a 2023 first, hell yeah, we're going to take the package, but that's probably not going to be the case. I would say it's definitely a fair deal. If it's going to be a league where you start 10 or more, that's where I'd start considering the package. I really think that if it's a 12-team league where you start 11 or 12, we go package. Anything shallower, we're probably keeping Najee. Hurricane Lane says, thoughts on Davis Mills potentially getting the Goff treatment for 2023 if the Texans aren't in the range of Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I think it's reckless to project that right now. It's reckless to go that far out and say, okay, well, based on not knowing how Davis Mills performs this upcoming season, based on not knowing how the quarterback prospects are looking like officially outside of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud next offseason, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. So Dax says, is Justin Fields better than Tua? We already answered that question, my friend. A Petro says, I traded Antonio Gibson for Dameon Pierce. Did I mess up big time? Oh my God, my man, you made a horrible deal. You made a horrible deal. I'm hoping you're trolling us. I hope that deep down, you know it's a mistake. And deep down, you're just thinking, okay, well, let's try to tilt Mason. Let's tell him I just went through and shipped, while definitely a stressed asset, an asset that not too many people are excited about right now at this moment in Antonio Gibson. We traded him for a day 3 running back that has yet to prove anything in the NFL that's on a bottom 5 offense at the same time. My man, if you truly went out there and made that trade for Dameon Pierce, it's horrendous. Think about it. Even if Dameon Pierce comes out, if Dameon Pierce does what Michael Carter did his rookie season, that would be a success. That would be a success. And then what situation are you looking at? You're looking at a situation where he could potentially get replaced next offseason. Those day 3 running backs, they have to be elite. They have to be fantastic. They have to be Aaron Jones if they keep that long-term job. If they're not Aaron Jones, they're James Robinson, they're Michael Carter, where the team's bringing in someone else this next season. So no, I wish you did not do that, my friend. But yeah, here, if we're just referring to this draft on Underdog Fantasy, you're going to get such an elite edge if you only have to draft 2 tight ends and 2 quarterbacks. So in my opinion, it's going to be a no-brainer going and grabbing George Kittle at the 411, grabbing Lamar Jackson at the 502. Now, getting Lamar here, it's not Very exciting because we don't have one of his pass catchers. You definitely prefer having Lamar Jackson whenever you draft Mark Andrews. But at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson is one of the very few quarterbacks that I'm fine taking here, even if we do not have one of his receiving options based on the majority of his projection coming from his raw rushing upside rather than the passing volume in that offense. Okay, so now let's find our next question here. And Ashton says, Joe Mixon or a 2023 first and Allen Robinson on a contending roster. Okay, so if it's going to be a one quarterback format and you're a contender, I'm fine just going and getting Joe Mixon. However, if it's going to be a super flex league, I honestly find no reason to make this deal right now. And I talk about this all the time. My point I really want to make to everybody here, why whenever I went out there and made that video saying, oh, trade for these contending running backs, and we listed players in the Aaron Jones, James Conner, Leonard Fournette range instead of the Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, which are going significantly ahead of those players in both underdog leagues as well as keep trade cut for Dynasty. The reason is right now is the worst time to ever think about going and trading your 2023 first round picks for a given player. I know that sounds laughable. You're saying, okay, well, Mason, there's so much hype around these 2023 picks right now, and nobody's submitting a starting lineup. Doesn't that mean we're getting these veterans at a discount? I'm not going to be able to trade a 2023 first for Joe Mixon during the season. I need to trade that 2023 first and Allen Robinson now for Joe Mixon. That's not true. I promise you, it happens every single year. If you're one of the teams in your league and you have 3 first-round picks, we know that those first-round picks, they get dispersed. So say there are a couple teams in your league, you have the rebuilding roster that has 3 first-round picks. Somehow you accumulated 2 or 3, and all of a sudden you're halfway through the season, and hell, there are 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 teams that thought that they were going to be contenders that had significant injuries, or their team's disappointing overall, and they're looking around going, I guess I got to blow it up. I guess I got to start playing for 2023. And if you are one of the teams that still has your 2023 first, if you are one of the contenders, what you get to do is you get to go and swoop in weeks 4, 5, and 6, look across the entire landscape and go, okay, running back X is injured, running back Y is dealing with an ankle sprain, running back Z is disappointing. I'm not trading for those players, but hell, he has Derrick Henry on a contending team, and it's a fire sale. Nobody else has their picks. I can see what running back is actually productive at this moment, and I can go and know exactly what I'm buying. So please keep the picks, keep the ammo. It's legitimately just ammo. We coined the term a long time ago. We talked about this last offseason. Now, it was regarding future draft picks, not just 2023 picks, but we coined the term last offseason that they're dynasty gold. You keep them, and then you go through and you fire them as ammo later on during the season if you are a true contender and you need the piece. Because there's also a chance you go, hell, I'm a contending team. It's week 8. I'm 7-1. And hell, I didn't have to trade that 2023 first. I'm crushing everyone. I get to compete this season and hold on to my future assets. So I just don't see a reason, unless it's ridiculous value, to trade those 2023 first. Okay, so let's find our next question right now. Our next one coming from Football Fanatic says, should I pull the trigger on J.K. Dobbins in the 108 for Kyle Pitts in a tight end premium 12-team Superflex? Okay, so that 108 pick is probably going to be someone like Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, Sky Moore, Christian Watson. And this is going back to the video that we had yesterday. Yes, I was an idiot. Yes, I came through and I said that Kyle Pitts was someone that I was avoiding in rookie drafts last year. 100%. I need to take that L. I said to draft Jamar Chase over him, and of course, people aren't laughing at me for that, but I said to draft Travis Etienne over Kyle Pitts. That was on this shit. I said it all the time, too. It wasn't a one-time occurrence. It wasn't something I said in passing. No, I came out and I said that all the freaking time. Now, we're moving on. We're not going to be reluctant to admit that we were wrong. To see what Kyle Pitts did his rookie season, you go through and you overpay for him now. So if that means we're trading J.K. Dobbins in the 108, we're trading J.K. Dobbins and Jameson Williams for Kyle Pitts, even if it's a non-tight end premium format, I'm going and doing that. Okay, so John says, trying to move off Michael Thomas, ? Is there anything I can do with him right now or just ride to the bottom? My man, I'm personally thinking that Michael Thomas is a fine asset to hold on to. You're not going to be able to trade Michael Thomas for a 2023 first. I don't know exactly what you'd be looking for in a deal. So I think I would honestly probably just hold on to him. Okay. Isaac says, one quarterback league, I traded Deandre Swift, Chris Godwin, Saquon Barkley for 3 2023 first. Okay. I guess maybe we should not speak in absolutes. I should not say to do anything you can to trade for 2023 first, because occasionally we'll see a deal like this. You traded Swift, Godwin, and Saquon Barkley for 3 first-round picks. What has to happen for that deal to make sense? In a one-quarterback format, keep in mind, those first-round picks are less valuable in a one-quarterback format because you're not going to have the potential to grab CJ Stroud. You're not going to have the potential to go and grab Bryce Young. And those quarterbacks are not going to be pushing other values down the board for you. And you need one of those first to turn into Deandre Swift. That's a tall ask. You need one of those first to turn into Chris Godwin. That's a tall ask. You need one of those first to turn into Saquon Barkley. That is pretty damn tough, my man. That is tough as hell. Okay, Henry says, Mason, seen you on the FF Dynasty doing that mock startup. Just watch Fly. Oh, I did not know that they even put that up. I did not see a DM or anything. Let me look that up. Honestly, I think that's what it is. God dang. Okay, let's go through and let's find our next question. Lance says, no questions, just love the content. Thanks, man, to keep it up. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel, my man. I do appreciate it. And Cass says, Hill for Travis Etienne and a 2023 first. Contending team, I'm not that high on Etienne, but the value seems... Yeah, you 100% you go through and you make that deal. I mean, with Travis Etienne here, he looks like you could potentially just be getting Aaron Jones on a rookie contract. You could be getting... I don't want to say Alvin Kamara because obviously bringing up Kamara, he's an extreme outlier, but one of those running backs that will catch every single ball out of their backfield and also get all the usage in the red zone. So for getting that player and a 2023 first for Tyreek Hill, a declining asset with a significant quarterback downgrade, yes, we're going to go through and we're going to make that trade. Okay, Scuba says, Tua or Garrett Wilson in a 12-team Superflex, half PPR. I think here we are having to battle bad quarterback play with either player. We're having to battle that bad quarterback play if you trade for Garrett Wilson with Zach Wilson throwing him the ball, or Tua's probably a bad quarterback in his own right, but I'm going to be going with Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, it's just a great situation. You're looking at Tyreek Hill. You're looking at Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, even Cedric Wilson coming in. It's an upgrade on who they had at wide receiver 3 last season. Like, I think that Tua is being set up to succeed. Now, it really comes down to, can he do it? I am unsure. I am unsure of that, but he at least is being set up with the possibility to succeed. Joe says, new to the channel, love what I've been seeing. Do you think it's worth to sell the 106 and Noah Fant to go get Mark Andrews? Thank you, my man, for being new to the channel. I'm surprised to hear that you're new to the channel, but thank you. And 100% go out there and overpay for Mark Andrews. I will say, I am surprised that this is even on the table. If you're looking at that 106, you're going to be outside the tier of those elite level players. You're going to be outside the Treylon Burks. You're not going to have a shot at him. You're not going to have a shot at Garrett Wilson. You're not going to have a shot on Kenneth Walker or Drake London. Now, potentially, just potentially, if somehow, some way, you end up getting Garrett Wilson falling to you. I guess even if Garrett Wilson falls to you, I don't know if we're going to be making that deal. Yeah, even if Garrett Wilson falls, I still think we prefer Andrews there. 100%, just go through and hold on to Mark Andrews. Okay, let's find our next question real quick. Coming out from Baby Cal says, what is a good price to sell DJ Morat, and should I be trying to sell? I personally don't think so, because right now people have kind of caught on to the situation with DJ Moore. People have caught on to the fact that it's probably hard to see the touchdown upside really go anywhere from here. And if you're going to be expecting that touchdown upside is capped based on the quarterback play in his offense, nobody's really giving you a ton for him. Yet he is still an elite level talent. I mean, with DJ Moore here, this is a wide receiver that, hell, he is close to leading the NFL in target share every single season over the past 2. I wanted to say 3, but I forgot. 2019, you have that Christian McCaffrey year where Christian McCaffrey goes out there and averages 9 targets a game. It does mess things up just slightly, But yeah, no, I'm going to go through and I'm going to prefer holding on to DJ Moore unless someone's willing to give you like 2 2023 first for him or something equivalent. Like if someone's willing to give you the 108 and a future first. Okay, so Daniel says Saquon Barkley in a 2023 third or DK Metcalf in a full PPR format. Really up to you. Do you want Barkley or DK Metcalf? I think you could make the argument that it slightly does come down to your overall format. And if you're going to be playing in a league that maybe you have to go through and you have to start 3 wide receivers and then you have 3 or 4 flex spots and you're saying, well, if I take a Saquon Barkley here and he's injured yet again, it is going to be devastating to my overall roster construction, because we really need that wide receiver production to give us a decent floor. If that's the selling point, I understand. But I think we probably just, I don't know. It's up to you on that. Steven says, is Cameron Brate the only tight end in Tampa right now? Not sure if Gronk is coming back and OJ Howard went to Buffalo. Yes, Cameron Brate is, but I think Gronk is coming back. I'd be very, very surprised if Rob Gronkowski does not come back for Tom Brady's last season. And Dingy says, Darrell Henderson and a 2023 third or Gabriel Davis. Gabriel Davis, not even close. I am worried about Gabriel Davis compared to where the rest of the community has him, based on the fact that, I mean, a lot of that production really just came from that last playoff game. And if you take a step back, really, there's not too much to get excited about with Gabriel Davis beyond that last playoff game. I mean, if we're looking at his market share numbers, he wasn't able to beat out 34-year-old Emmanuel Sanders. He wasn't able to beat out an extremely old Cole Beasley either. So I'm not as excited about Gabriel Davis as most people, but hell, look at the target competition that he has there. There's no target competition really at all in Buffalo. Add on the fact that you're looking at a team, I wanted Stafford, but you were looking at a team that should be top 5 in the NFL with overall passing volume. So yeah, we're going to go through and we're going to, I'm sorry for being all over the place. I think we probably just go Wilson here. Yeah, because I'd be very surprised if this team can go back-to-back running back. If they want to go back-to-back running back and mess up their team, by all means, you do you. But we're going to take Garrett Wilson, and we are going to get one of Damian Harris or Kareem Hunt making it back to us. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Stefan says, Mason, who will be the fantasy wide receiver 2 on the Texans, Nico Collins or John Mechie, assuming Cooks is healthy all year? If I had to bet on someone, I would go through and I would place my bet on John Mechie over Nico Collins. With John Mechie, I mean, very similar to Jalen Waddle. I mean, a polarizing prospect coming out of Alabama just because we've never really seen John Mechie and what he could be. He's played with Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Jameson Williams. He has had the toughest target competition one could ever imagine there in Alabama. Now, he's actually been productive. However, with those same players in the offense, specifically this past season, he did actually break out. So given the context of the offense that he's playing in, I'm completely fine going through and grabbing John Mechie. Victor says, trade the 101 for Deshaun Watson. I have Lance and Wilson on a rebuilding roster. Yes, I would go through and I would trade Breece Hall for Deshaun Watson. Domenico says, should I ship CeeDee Lamb in a 2024 second for Garrett Wilson and a 2023 first on a rebuilding 12-team Superflex tight end premium format? Honestly, I am not doing so because I think if you look at CeeDee Lamb with the combination of volume he should be stepping into this upcoming season with no Amari Cooper and overall passing environment efficiency, here you're going to have Garrett Wilson with more target competition and a significantly worse offense, and Garrett Wilson is probably a worse receiver overall, so I do have them separated by a couple different tiers here. So I really like the idea of going through and taking that stud elite level wide receiver and on a rebuilding roster going and packaging them down and picking up an additional 2023 first. I think you actually just need to get some more value added on with your side. I think you need some more value added on. Okay. So now our next question is going to, okay, I'm sorry, 1 second. Our next question is going to be coming out from John. Says, would you trade Deandre Swift for a 2023 first and Johan Dodson? I'd probably hold on to Deandre Swift there. With Swift, he's young enough to be a cornerstone asset that you can build around. He's young enough to be a cornerstone asset to build around. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Drew says, Zach Ertz and Hasty for Joshua Palmer and Allen Lazard. I would actually probably go Joshua Palmer and Allen Lazard. I wouldn't be too surprised if you get some starts out of Allen Lazard this upcoming season based on that Green Bay Packers depth chart and the efficiency of the offense over the past 2 years. Okay, so Derek says, can you play Underdog in Michigan? Legit question for buddy. My man, I do not think you can right now. I think, let me look this up. The states you cannot play Underdog in. And real quick, I know I've said this a million times, but somehow there are still some of y'all have not signed up for Underdog Fantasy to get in these drafts with us. Please make sure you go to this link in the description, the link in the comment section, the link anywhere. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. You will get our Dynasty rankings. You will get our Dynasty rookie rankings. You will also get a 100% deposit match when you use promo code FLOCK. Please make sure you go take advantage of that right now. So yeah, the states that you cannot play Underdog Fantasy in: Connecticut. Okay, where did that page just go? Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Idaho, Iowa, Louisiana, Michigan, Montana, and I believe New Mexico. No, Nevada, wherever Vegas is. I know you can't do it with Vegas because obviously they have the casinos in there, really pushing ledges, really just screwing everything up for us. Okay, well, let's go find our next question. And this is going to come out from Matt. Says, trading Debo for Ayuk, a 2023 first and a 2024 second. What are your thoughts? Superflex format, I actually really like the return. I really like the turn moving off Brandon Ayuk. I actually was writing Brandon Ayuk's chapter in our Dynasty. I'm sorry, not our Dynasty draft guide, just our regular 2022 draft guide. And there are a lot of reasons to be excited about Brandon Ayuk if you look at his rookie season and how good he was overall in that year. Okay, so Cole coming out says, thoughts on Dynasty value after the reports that Russ's favorite target has been Sutton, and he is clearly the wide receiver one as of now. With those reports, I do not care, to be honest. What reports we are looking for out of training camp right now? Running back depth charts, specifically with the running backs 3 and 4. What reports we are looking for injury reports as well. Outside of that, the beat reporters saying player X is looking great, player Y isn't looking good. I could care less about those. Just opinions and just overall narrative pushing. Okay, so anything with the J coming out says Bateman and Hunt for Treylon, and we already answered that. Okay, so I think that we actually probably just go through and grab Rashad Penny. Yeah. Sorry, y'all can tell I'm a little bit everywhere when we were trying to draft and answer questions at the same time. I feel like we've had a pretty good draft so far, though. Okay, so our question was trade Nick Chubb, a 2024 and 2025 first, for 2 2023 first, and what will be the 2023 101 in a 10-team league? Young, deep at running back, middle of the road. Was this a good move? No, this was not a good move. You literally traded 2 future firsts and Nick Chubb to get 2 different future first. At the end of the day, that's what happened. We can project the picks out. There's an opportunity cost in having to hold on to those picks a little bit further. But to trade away 2 future first and Nick Chubb to get 2 different future first, regardless of if we think the 2023 class is great, that is not a good trade. I do not like that process. Okay, so Nutty Chili says, am I the only one who thinks T. Higgins is a more valuable asset than CeeDee Lamb? I understand the thought process behind it because you do have T. Higgins, the more productive wide receiver overall last season. He actually did command a decent amount of volume as well in that offense compared to what CeeDee Lamb did. But if we're looking at the overall departures from Dallas, where you have both Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson gone and Michael Gallup limited to come into this. No, in my opinion, you have to go CeeDee Lamb. I understand where you're coming from, though. Okay, so blah, blah, coming out says, was I right to trade Travis Kelce for a guaranteed top 1 to 3 2023 first? Dude's team is absolutely terrible. I'm predicting easy 101. Okay, yes. I hate predicting future picks, but if you're saying this is the worst team in the league, not even remotely close, go trade Kelce for it. Okay, Del Marty says, trade King Henry for Darnell Mooney in a late 2023 first. I'm a semi-contender, mini rebuild. Okay, I don't really know what that means. It seems to contradict itself, but currently have 2 early 2023 first. Unless it is the scenario where this is the worst team in the league, they don't have a single starting quarterback, and their number 1 running back is Chase Edmonds, do not be projecting these first round picks out. Don't be saying, oh yeah, I'll have 2 2023. Probably that's the 102. That's the 105. This one's the 110. No, you have no idea. It's May. We haven't even had 1 week into the season. You know how much variance there is just on a week-to-week basis in the NFL. Not even to mention that we do get injuries before the season even kicks. Please, let's not overproject those first-round picks. It's my biggest pet peeve. I talk about it all the time. But here, if we're trading Derrick Henry for Darnell Mooney and a 2023 first, if it's a super flex format, I am fine going and getting the pick in Darnell Mooney. If it's a 1 quarterback league, I probably think it's a wash. And obviously, it does come down to if you're a contender, if you're a rebuilder. Okay, so Jess says, is A.J. Brown enough value for Christian McCaffrey? Yes. Derek says, Elijah Moore in a 2024 first, traded for Jerry Jeudy, Wan'Dale Robinson, and a 4th. What are your thoughts? I have the Jerry Jeudy side. Honestly, I'm not a fan of this. I think I would prefer Elijah Moore in the 2024 first. Like if we go through and if we pull up keep trade cut right now, while I do personally have Jerry Jeudy ranked over Elijah Moore. I want to say that right now. I'm very concerned with the overall quarterback play that you are going to be getting in New York. I will admit that. If we go and we look at these players on keep trade cut, well, Jerry Jeudy is actually the same age as Elijah Moore, and on Underdog Fantasy, he goes over 100% of the time. And on Underdog Fantasy, those are real money fantasy football drafts. We're looking at this Elijah Moore, the wide receiver 23, Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver 26. So we're making a lateral swap, a wide receiver that's in the same tier. I prefer Jerry Jeudy. But at the end of the day, they are in the same tier. And we're trading a 2024 first and only getting back Wan'Dale Robinson in return. I am not a big fan of that. Okay, so let's go through. And Jack of Spades says, which side is better in a half PPR format? We have Jerry Jeudy and Nick Chubb or Tyreek Hill and J.K. Dobbins. Okay, so here, I think we probably prefer going Tyreek and Dobbins, even though I like me some Jerry Jeudy, even though I do want to be on the record, Jerry Jeudy is the wide receiver 1 in Denver. I don't care what reports are saying today coming out of training camp. I'll believe it when we see it. When we actually see it on the field, when we see the target breakdown change in any meaningful way, then I'll believe it. Okay, so let's go through. Luke says, contending roster, would you trade Gibson, Hunter Renfrow in the 208 for James Conner and a 2023 second? I would not trade Antonio Gibson, Hunter Renfrow in the 208 for James Conner in a second. Because I think you prefer Gibson over Conner in Dynasty, even with Gibson falling and Conner looking like a great contender buy. And we're moving the 208 for a future second, a wash, and we're throwing Hunter Renfrow on top of it for free. No, I'm just going to prefer Gibson, Hunter Renfrow in the 208. Shui says, what's your philosophy on drafting for need versus taking the best player available? For example, is a team that is absolutely stacked at running back still taking Breece Hall at the 101? Yes. Maybe when we get to September, maybe when we get to October, you can change your tone just slightly. But as we sit here in May and we do not look to submit a starting lineup anytime soon, you just take best player available. You don't think about your team need. Obviously, when we're in an underdog draft like this, we are going to go through and you're going to have to think about your roster construction a ton because there are no waivers. But in a regular dynasty format, when we can go through and make trades all offseason, whenever we can make plays during the year as well, please just go best player available. Okay, so let's go find our next. Oh, we have a donation question. Thank you, Mark, my man. Have not seen you out here in quite a while. It says, trade Pollard, Gage, and Henderson for Antonio Gibson and Cortland Sutton. I would do this. Now, I'm not a big fan of Sutton. I would immediately take Sutton. We had tried to ship him elsewhere. I will admit that would be my automatic plan. Grab Sutton and move him for, I don't want to say Jerry Jeudy because that's lazy and the Jeudy owner is not going to do that. But let me pull up Keep Trade Cut right now and look at Cortland Sutton and some players that are going after him. So right now on Keep Trade Cut, Cortland Sutton is the wide receiver 30. Players going after Cortland Sutton. Amon-Ra St. Brown this past season you can make an argument, possibly at a better year than Cortland Sutton has ever had. If you look at the back half of the season, combined with the context of his age, and Cortland Sutton's going above him. Trade Cortland Sutton for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Trade Cortland Sutton for Sky Moore. Trade Cortland Sutton for Keenan Allen. Trade him for Christian Watson. Trade him for Brandon Ayuk. There are a lot of players I would go through and I would trade Cortland Sutton for, but yes, I do think you have to make that trade and go get Sutton right now. Okay. So now Ethan says, I have 9 out of the 10 2023 picks in my Superflex league. Besides Bijan Robinson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, name 2 players that I could potentially surpass them in the rankings after this next 2 season. My picks would be Zach Evans and Kayshon Boutte. I honestly think that probably the only players that haven't in the range of outcomes to jump up over Bijan Robinson and Jackson Smith and Jigba are going to be the quarterbacks with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. In a 10-team Superflex format, though, quarterback's not going to matter as much. But hell, you have 9 of the 10. Why are we picking hairs here? Okay, so Snaz Apple says, 1 quarterback league. I traded Terry McLaurin for the 109, 207, and the 307. I'm going to go to a complete rebuild and trying to tank for a high 2023 pick. On the surface, this looks like a bad trade. On the surface, you are not excited about this, as the 109, probably getting Chris Olave. Actually, Kenny Pickett's going to be off the board. You may not get Olave. You're probably going to be looking at like Christian Watson. If you ask me who I prefer in Dynasty, Christian Watson or Terry McLaurin, even for a rebuilding roster, I'm probably going to be taking Terry McLaurin, assuming we can get more in trade for him later. But keep in mind, in a 10-team league, that 207 is going to be decent. Because that 207 is going to slide up 2 spots. It's going to be like the 205 in a regular league. Somehow, some way, you need to hope that people decide to go Isaiah Spiller, Rashad White. They decide to grab Dameon Pierce, Tyler Jarrett. You need to hope that you get someone like George Pickens making it to you. And if that were to happen, I think I would be fine with it. But on the surface, trading Terry McLaurin for the 109, 207, and 307 in a 1 quarterback format, you can't be excited about. Okay, so let's go through and find our next question here. Nick says, thoughts on trading Pittman for a 2023 first and the 205 in a 1 quarterback dynasty? I am selling Pittman for that. Pittman was not a good prospect coming into the NFL. He did have a good second year. If you look at his target share numbers in Indianapolis, he dominated targets in Indy. But there was no competition for targets at all. This is going to be one of the most run-heavy offenses in the entire NFL. I personally would go through and I would sell Michael Pittman for the 205 and a future first, hoping that you can get a George Pickens. You can hope somehow, some way. It's probably unlikely, but there is a small chance that you end up getting Johan Dodson making it to you. Okay. So Shuey says, is Irv Smith Jr. finally set to break out this season? I've had him on my roster for the past year and a half, just waiting for him to get that opportunity. My man, I have had Irv Smith Jr. on my roster since about 2019 in God knows how many leagues. So trust me, I am right there with you. I've been waiting a long time on not on Irv Smith Jr. I think he is set up for it. Because if you go back, if you look at his second season, he was legitimately 21 years old to start that year. He was the youngest tight end in the 2019 draft. And he started that roster with Tyler Conklin, Kyle Rudolph. He was neck and neck, pretty much outproduced Kyle Rudolph. That year, definitely outproduced Tyler Conklin, both of whom were quality NFL tight ends, and the man was 21 years old. Adam Thielen's another year older now. There's really no third wide receiver. I mean, maybe you make the case for KJ Osborne. Yes, I really like the Irv Smith Jr. breakout this year. Still incredibly young. He is actually, it's crazy. But the man's younger than Pat Freiermuth. Or at least, maybe he's not younger than Freiermuth. Let me think. I don't think he's younger than Freiermuth. I think he is about a month older, but tomato. Okay, so now let's go find our next question. Kenneth Lee says, contending, would you trade Cook for Jacobs, Hunt, and Gesicki? I also have Mixon, Chubb, Leonard Fournette, and James Conner at running back. Sounds like you're playing in an extremely shallow format. In a very shallow format, I'm probably not making that deal. But yeah, if it's a 10-team league, I'm probably just going to keep Dalvin Cook on a contender. If it's going to be a deeper format than it sounds and you just have a dominant roster, then yeah, take the package. Okay, so now our next question coming up from Paul says, Diggs for Jalen Waddle and David Bell. David Bell is a very, very small piece of this. It really does come down to, are you wanting Stephon Diggs or are you wanting Jalen Waddle? And I think it's a fair question. If you go through and if you look at Jalen Waddle's rookie season, one of the best rookie seasons we have ever seen from a wide receiver. over 100 receptions, a dominant option in fantasy football immediately. We should have known that. Looking at the fact that the Miami Dolphins went out there and traded the 12th pick overall and a future first to go get him. Like, the writing was on the wall there. We maybe overlooked it a little bit. I think going and buying into Jalen Waddle now is not such a bad idea, even though it's such, like, to think about the situations Stephon Diggs versus Jalen Waddle are in, it's night and day. Jalen Waddle has piss poor quarterback play with Tua Tagovailoa compared to Stephon Diggs with Josh Allen. Tua Tagovailoa not only is going to be throwing to Jalen Waddle, but Jalen Waddle also has to deal with Tyreek Hill being in that offense, where the second option in Buffalo is freaking Gabriel Davis. Like, Stephon Diggs is in a much, much better scenario. Maybe if you're a contender, you go through and you make the argument that you hold on to Diggs. On a rebuilding or a neutral team, I probably prefer to just roll with Jalen Waddle. And real quick, let me recap this team. I know we've just been answering questions, but I actually really like this team so far. This is going to be a 2 quarterback, 6 running back, 8 wide receiver, and 2 tight end build. So we got Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins with our first 2, Nick Chubb in the 3rd, Kittle, Lamar at the 4-5 turn, so we can lock in that we only need 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. Just hammering some wide receiver value in the middle rounds. Elijah Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Kareem Hunt. We monopolize every single touch in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson, really go all in on that Cleveland Browns offense. Rashad Penny, Robert Tonyan, Mecole Hardman, Will Fuller for some potential spike weeks, hoping that Will Fuller does end up signing with Cleveland. Gus Edwards to pair up with Lamar. That doesn't really matter too much, but Gus Edwards should see touches on a week-to-week basis. So really excited about this team. And if you want to have a broken brain like I do, if you want to somehow, some way be in a fantasy football draft from the second you wake up to the second you go to sleep, make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. You'll get our Dynasty rankings. You'll get our redraft rankings. You'll support this channel. Most importantly, you will have fun. I think it's a no-brainer. Somehow we still have people signing up with promo code FLOCK. I have no idea how not everybody is in these drafts with us by now. Okay, so let's go through and find our next question. Brandon coming out says, any running back swaps I could try for Cam Akers, or do you like Akers? In Dynasty, if you're looking at keep trade cut right now, I mean, Cam Akers' price is so depressed, you're going to have to hold on to him. Okay, Luke says, just joined. What is this format? Okay, if y'all don't know what Underdog Fantasy is, it's going to be best ball. So we can go through and we can draft. I've already drafted over, I think we did the math. It was like 70 teams this offseason, if you combine what we did at the beginning of the offseason as well. So how we can draft 70 real money fantasy football teams is you do not submit your starting lineup. You do not do waivers. Your automatic best starting lineup for you is submitted at the end of every single week. And on top of it, you draft 18 rounds. There are players like Kendrick Bourne, Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones being drafted in this draft. So there's no need for waivers. It is going to make your roster construction very important. And like I said, go use promo code FLOCK. Find the link in the description. Sign up. We're going to be doing this all offseason. I probably need to stop doing this as much as I do, at least off the live stream, because it will break my brain eventually. I think I fully am addicted, but dear God, it's fun. Dear God, there's nothing more fun. Okay, so let's find our next question here. Luke says, contending roster, would you, we already answered that one from Luke. Ja Webb says, who is your rookie wide receiver 1 and 2, but please explain your wide receivers 2's path to being the wide receiver 1. Really weird question. Wide receiver 1 is Drake London, checks every single box. Wide receiver 2 would be Treylon Burks. His path to get to wide receiver 1 is he essentially steps in to the same role that A.J. Brown left behind. Robert Woods fails this season, and he's just flooded with a ridiculous amount of targets. So let's continue to add in. We need running backs and receivers. Donovan Peoples-Jones. We probably would have taken Donovan Peoples-Jones. Let's just go Odell Beckham Jr., looking for some potential spike weeks during the fantasy football playoffs. And then now I guess we just go back-to-back running backs to end this off. Yeah, we'll take whoever he leaves us between Jamal Williams and Brian Robinson. I don't really have a preference between the two. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Brian says, if you were trading out of the 101 in a super flex format, that's a 4-point passing touchdown league, it also has 2 flex spots, what would you ask for? Okay, so if we were looking at trading out of the 101 in a Superflex league, if it only has 2 flex spots, I know you're saying like, oh, it has 2 flex spots. Maybe that's deep. No, having only 2 flex spots is very shallow. In a Dynasty format in particular. I would need a lot to trade out of the 101 because you're getting Josh Allen locked in. And if you're getting Josh Allen locked in that Superflex shallow format, he's going to make up such a high percentage of your starting lineup output every single week. What I would potentially look for is I would want a 2nd round startup pick and a 4th round startup pick and return, possibly a 2nd round startup pick or 2nd, 6th round startup picks, and then also a 2023 first. I'm going to make someone overpay if it's going to be a shallow format where we can essentially just lock ourselves into elite quarterback production every single week with Josh Allen. Okay, it's LB says, are you doing another draft after this? Yeah, I'll do another draft after this one if y'all want to hop in it. Just go sign up for Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK. And if you weren't able to get into this one or the next one, I promise you we are going to do, I was initially saying 200. And then I bumped it up to 300, realizing the problem that I have. Then after doing the math at the gym to see how many of these we've already done, we're probably doing 400 of these this offseason, if we're going to be honest. Okay, so Sareem says, I was offered Justin Jefferson in the 102 in exchange for someone sending me Jamar Chase. It's Justin Jefferson in the 102, not even close. Not even remotely close. Okay. Chris says, who do you think has the best chance of being a fantasy relevant tight end in this rookie class? It's Trey McBride. I don't think we really need to dive into it. I mean, there's no unique take there. Also, I mean, if you're looking at the situation this season, it's not great, but honestly, it's really good beyond this year because you have the aging DeAndre Hopkins. Not only do you have the aging DeAndre Hopkins, but on top of that, you're going to be looking at Zach Ertz potentially leaving Arizona, opening up a massive tight end hole there. So yeah, I think that it's going to be Trey McBride for the talent, Trey McBride for the long-term situation. I don't think we need to read into it too much. Okay, C19 says, where would you draft James Cook in a league where running backs get 2 points per reception? Okay, so if running backs get 2 points per reception and wide receivers don't, please, everybody, plug your ears if you don't play in this format because it's going to have no relevance to you whatsoever. And I know someone's maybe going to clip this and go, oh, Mason, what an idiot. But because James Cook does have that receiving upside, because he's playing in an elite level offense, and if you're playing in a league that's PPR for receivers, but 2 PPR for RBs, he has to jump over Christian Watson, Sky Moore. Does he jump over Jameson Williams and Chris Olave? Because if we just go through and think about this, if he racks up, say, 50 receptions, that's a lot. If he racks up 45 receptions this upcoming season, it's like an additional 8 touchdowns just because of the format. And if that's an additional 8 touchdowns, we also have to keep in mind how the market value of these players is going to play into everything. I personally probably would take him right there once you get to outside the top 5. Definitely. I still want the elite level wide receivers over him. I'd probably take him at the 106. Rashad White gets a massive bump up as well. And Isaiah Spiller. They all get massive bump ups. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Jess says, was offered A.J. Brown and Alexander Madison for Christian McCaffrey. Have Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Dillon. Wide receiver core is pretty damn bad. Okay, so you're offered A.J. Brown for CMC. They go right next to each other in startup drafts. It's up to you. If you think you really need help at wide receiver and you're not necessarily going all in to contend right now, I would be fine just going through and buying into A.J. Brown. Okay, so let me recap my team. Running back's weak, but we have an elite tight end. We have elite quarterback play. We have Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson at quarterback. At tight end, we have George Kittle, Robert Tonyan. Wide receiver, we have Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Elijah Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Mecole Hardman, Will Fuller, and Odell Beckham Jr. Running back, we're going to be weak, but hell, we'll have 6 players here, so we'll be able to just attack the position with volume. We have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Rashad Penny, Gus Edwards, and Brian Robinson. Rashad Penny needs to stay healthy. Probably not going to happen, but it's a $5 buy-in to win $75,000. So we're drafting for upside. We have to know that the majority of these drafts we're going to be losing. Okay, so now our next question coming out from... Ooh, we have already answered a lot of these. I think we scrolled back too far. Luke coming out says, drop a like in the live stream. Yeah, I don't think we've said that since the beginning of the live stream, and I just want to thank everybody because everybody's already dropped a like in the live stream. We have like 150 likes and only 180 people watching. But Sam coming out says, someone offered me A.J. Brown for my Tua Tagovailoa and a 104 and a 2023 Superflex. I laughed. Okay, thank God, my man. I was going to say, please tell me you were not actually considering this. And you're saying, do I go wide receiver heavy in my dynasty startup at pick 2? Thanks, you're the man. No, thank you so much for supporting my channel. I mean, supporting the channel, my dude. And here, I think that you probably go wide receiver heavy. I mean, if we are just going to be going through and mapping everything out, you're going to be looking at one of those top quarterbacks falling to you at pick 2. But then beyond that, if we can get T. Higgins at the 2-3 turn, which is probably pretty likely, I would be fine going wide receiver heavy. It really does come down to your format. Like, you have to understand, if you're playing in a league that, say, starts one quarterback, then running back, receiver, tight end, flex, super flex, you can only start up to 3 or 4 wide receivers. There, you're going to be incentivized to get the elite QBs, to get the elite tight end, and honestly punt the wide receiver position, because from wide receiver 30 to wide receiver 60, they're all about the same. However, if you're playing in a league that I'm used to playing in these dynasty leagues, I think they're a lot more fun because they make wide receivers more valuable. If you start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a super flex, and then the flock leagues are crazy. Then we have 4 extra flex spots. But if you have 3 extra flex spots, which I'd imagine that's how a lot of y'all run, then I still want to probably build around wide receiver early, but you do have to be flexible with the rest of your draft. Okay, so let's go through, and we got in a puppy draft in the last round. So this one, we are going to be getting in a best ball mania draft. Of course, this is on Underdog Fantasy. Go sign up. Link in the description. Use promo code FLOCK. They'll match your deposit dollar for dollar, 200. You'll get our dynasty rankings. You'll get our rookie rankings, yada, yada, yada. But how this works is there's going to be 451,000 entrants. But keep in mind, you're only drafting in a 12-team league. In your 12-team league, first place is going to get paid. Second place gets paid, but a small percentage of every league pot is set aside for the tournament at the very end, where you have $2 million to first, $1 million to second, 500,000 for third, 200,000 for fourth, so on, so on, so on. Very exciting. Obviously, you have a low probability of actually winning that, but it is what it is. We're going to hop into that Best Ball Mania draft. We have 8 slots open. 8 slots open. Now, let's find our next question. This is going to come out from Cole. Says, Superflex, I have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Jerry Jeudy, J.K. Dobbins, James Conner, Ezekiel Elliott, T.J. Hawkinson. Need running back depth, and I have a bunch of wide receivers on my bench. Juju, Gage, Kirk. Who should I trade? Okay. So let me figure this out real quick. My man, if you're worrying about running back depth right now, I think you sit on your hands. Like, if I was going to tell this team to go through and make any trade whatsoever, I would say, hell, go try to stack Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown. Like, I'm not even thinking about running back depth. It's May. You don't know if you need an extra running back on this team. You don't know if you need to go out there and get a 4th running back. What happens if, hell, James Conner is a running back 1 this season, as he was last year with no Chase Edmonds? What happens if, oh, crap, Ezekiel Elliott, he's back to being a running back 1? What happens if, oh, dear God, J.K. Dobbins is running back 2? Hell, you have 3 top 24 running backs in this team. What are we talking about you need running back depth for? Let's not try to figure out what our lineup's going to need in week 6 right now when it's May. Let's just continue to focus in on stacking value, and coming up with the roster construction that we like with these correlated bets. Okay, so CJ says, what is the best way to set up a dynasty expansion draft? There isn't much info out there. My man, I've never been able to complete a dynasty expansion draft that has worked seamlessly and successfully, because if you think about what could happen, it's so hard to figure out an easy way to make it fair for everybody. Like, you could say, okay, we're going to, you know what I guess you could do? You could transition your dynasty league, but you have to get everybody on board with this. Transition your dynasty league to a keeper format where possibly you keep 5, 6 players for 2 seasons, and then you ramp back up to dynasty. I think that would probably be the only way, because if you go through and say, okay, everybody has to drop down to 15 players, and then the 2 new teams coming in, they get to pick from that group. Even if you give them the 101 in their rookie draft, even if you give them the 102, the 103, the 104, they're still going to be so behind the 8 ball compared to everybody else in the league. So I think probably the fairest way to go about a dynasty expansion draft is going to be turning it into a 5, 6 player keeper. And then from there, essentially just saying, Hell, you get the 101 this year. You get the 102 this year. We're going to give you those top picks next season as well. So you have the top rookies coming in. You'll be able to build your core of 5 around that. And then from there, we are going and drafting the rest out into a dynasty league that 3rd season. Or maybe you only have to do that 1 year. But this draft is filled starting in 14th. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I pick at the 101, 102, 103, 112, 111, 112. I only pick from there. I never pick in the middle. Like, my exposure to Jamar Chase, I have like 1.2% Jamar Chase. Out of Best Ball Mania and puppy drafts, I drafted a little over 50 of the teams. Probably closer to actually like 62 now. And I think we have Jamar Chase in like one of them. And it's just because I'm never drafting in the middle of round 1. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Shui says, why is there not as much hype around for these rookie wide receivers as there was for Jamar Chase? Because Jamar Chase was a significantly better wide receiver prospect. Jamar Chase went out there and he dominated with Justin Jefferson playing alongside him. Jamar Chase as a sophomore compared to Justin Jefferson at LSU in 2019. Jamar Chase was younger and he had more receiving yards per game. He had more touchdowns per game. And then Justin Jefferson put up the best rookie season of all. That's why there was so much hype around Jamar Chase, because he was an elite prospect. You don't have that with Drake London. You don't have that with Garrett Wilson. Okay. So Final Fantasy draft right in here with a question also in this draft with us, my man. Thank you for hopping in here. We also have Derek out here in the draft, Zach here as well. So you're going up against a few members of the flock. Thank y'all for coming out. It says DJ Moore, a lock for 1,100 yards every single season, just not that many touchdowns. Yes, I was looking at RotoViz and I honestly need to email them because I am unsure if they did it incorrectly. But looking at DJ Moore, he had a very bad win rate last year. I don't know if it was correct, but it is slightly concerning. Now, we'll try something new. Najee Harris never makes it here. We'll take Najee Harris at the 112. It would have been really nice to get like Najee Harris and Derrick Henry and to get a very unique combination of players. But we'll take Najee Harris and Mark Andrews at the 1-2 turn, setting ourselves up for that build that we love. One elite quarterback, one elite tight end. That way we can stop at 2 of each. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Brandon says, thoughts on Darren Waller this year? My other tight ends are Robert Tonyan and Jonnu Smith, so I'm a little bit worried in a Superflex tight end premium format. Robert Tonyan I hated last season, but if you're looking at Robert Tonyan this upcoming, I think he's a fine tight end too. I mean, think about it. Robert Tonyan in 2020, if you look at his targets per game, and Robert Tonyan was a mid tight end 1 in 2020. If you look at his targets per game, if you look at his air yards per game, he was the exact same player that he was in 2021. The only difference was the touchdown volatility. Robert Tonyan on like 5.6 or like 6 or 5 targets, it doesn't matter, somewhere in the range. He led the NFL in touchdowns per target in 2020. Got very lucky. But the volume in the offense didn't change at all last season. Now, you do have Davante Adams leaving. And on top of Davante Adams leaving, what else do you have? You have, hopefully, an expanded role in the red zone. Because Christian Watson isn't going to be that same red zone threat that you had from a Davante Adams. So, it's a better situation. And his cost is a third of what it was. So while I thought that Robert Tonyan was one of the worst values in the entire fantasy football community last season, now I'm all in. Okay, Jess says, is Christian McCaffrey a hold or a sell to you? If you're a true contender, I'm fine with holding. Nobody has more upside in fantasy football. If you are halfway, if you're a rebuilder, you have to sell. Okay, so now Jack coming out says, I just finished a productive struggle startup, and I have 7 2023 first and multiple rookies / second-year players like Kenneth Walker, Treylon Burks, David Bell, Wan'Dale Robinson, etc. Should I start to consolidate or stay the course? You stay the course, 100%. Like, there's no reason to go, okay, yeah, I'm going to sell everything now so I can be set up in 2023. And then this is, if you go through and if you look at the stock market, if you look at the Dynasty fantasy football market, this is why some people mess things up and they just end up, I don't want to say being bad, but they end up making massive mistakes. And like you go through and you have a good plan from the beginning. You start that plan and then you deviate because you're bored. Like that's what it would come down to. If you go through and if you say, oh yeah, I had a productive struggle team. It went very well. I'm set up for 2023 perfectly. But it's bored. I'm bored. Like what should I be doing? I should probably go through and make some trades, right? Should I go and trade a couple of these first and go get Dalvin Cook and Derek? No. Let's sit down. Let's relax. If you're bored, don't make a reckless dynasty trade. If you're bored, go use promo code FLOCK and hop in a draft on Underdog Fantasy. Draft with us on the live stream. Yeah, come hang out in the chat with us. There's a lot you can do. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. Have some fun. Don't go out there and start making crazy dynasty fantasy football trades just because you're bored. Okay. So let's go through and find our next question. And this one's coming out from Bird Pearson says, Jameson Williams and a late 2023 third. Please stop saying that. Please stop saying later early. It's a 2023 third. We don't know what it is. So Jameson Williams or Chris Godwin? I prefer Chris Godwin. I mean, if you look at Chris Godwin, still very young. If you look at Chris Godwin, this is a wide receiver that has been hyper productive over the past 3 seasons, and his target share is expanding in Tampa. His target share is expanding while Mike Evans is compressing. Mike Evans has been on a straight decline. If you're looking at his target share in this offense, if you're looking at his air yards in this offense, I'm personally all in. Just holding on to Chris Godwin. Stay in the course. Let's pull this up. Figure out where we are going to be going. James Conner goes to the 310. Thank you for taking Connor, not giving us any temptations. Final Fantasy Draft is in here with us. He's gone Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon through the first 2 rounds. Here goes Jalen Waddle. He grabs our guy. So you know what we are going to do? We're going to probably piss some people off, even though we don't have Travis Kelce. We're going to take Patrick Mahomes. We are going to stay the course, and we are going to try to build around those 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends. And one of my least drafted players, I think we've taken him once, and it's because he fell to the 404. But he has an ADP of 32. We're taking him in the 4th now. I would take Hollywood Brown here instead. I prefer Deonte Johnson over him. I think Deonte Johnson's the better wide receiver. We're going to take Michael Pittman. The reason I'm not taking Hollywood Brown, however, is the reason Hollywood Brown goes here isn't necessarily due to the talent level of the receiver. It's more so due to this is where Kyler Murray goes. Kyler Murray will go at the 5-6 turn. So you set yourself up nicely if you don't have a quarterback to pair him so far. If you don't have Patrick Mahomes, you set yourself up nicely by taking a Hollywood Brown at the beginning of the 4th. That way you can take Kyler in the 5th. But we don't want to take Kyler in the 5th. Okay. So now our next question coming out from ADZ says, looking to trade Lamar Jackson, already have Deshaun Watson for a 2023 pick and a player. Which running back / wide receiver would be fair value? I'm assuming when you say a pick, you're talking a 2023 first round pick. So if we are looking at moving Lamar Jackson for a wide receiver in a 2023 first round selection, I would love to get someone like London. I think you would still need a great wide receiver because you do have Lamar Jackson in that elite category. So I think you would need a Stephon Diggs. You would need a Drake London. You need a Devontae Adams level player. And there it would make sense, assuming it's Superflex. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be able to help you too much with your 1 quarterback evaluations. I have not played in a 1 quarterback dynasty format since 2017. For maybe 2018, but around that time. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Tommy says, Chris Olave, a 2023 third, and Tim Patrick for Treylon Burks in a 10-team PPR format. 10-team PPR, the third and Tim Patrick don't matter at all. Give me Treylon Burks. Like 10-team league, it's very shallow. What is Tim Patrick ever going to do for you? Like in a best ball format like this, hell, I drafted a lot of Tim Patrick because those deep wide receivers in best ball, they matter. So I am going to go through and I'm going to take them. I am pissed off by Derek here. You know the draft's going to be annoying when he's in here because you know what he can do now? He can go through, take Kyler in the 5th, and then get Hopkins and not have to reach on him in the 6th or 7th. That is a beautiful setup there. Okay, so let's find our next question. This is coming out from BB Birds, who says, I just traded TJ Hawkinson, David Montgomery, and Gronk I just traded TJ Hawkins and David Montgomery for Gronk, DeAndre Hopkins, a future first and second on a contending roster. I honestly think you probably overpaid a little bit. Unless we can parlay one of those pieces into a different deal, I think you probably overpaid. Okay, so Final Fantasy Drafts says, Mason, are you high on Chase Edmonds this year based on his ADP, or are you worried about the muddied backfield with Mostert, Gaskins, and Sony Michel? Not necessarily, because if you think about this, yes, right now, and I was literally thinking about this when I was walking the dog this morning. If you just go through and think about that Miami Dolphins backfield, there is a lot of uncertainty right now. You don't know who the running back 2, you don't know who the running back 3 is on that team. But if you look at the contracts of the running backs on that roster, the only player that is guaranteed a roster spot, the only guy guaranteed a roster spot this upcoming season, Chase Edmonds. So while it's very muddied right now, what you may end up getting is you may end up getting a few players cut. You may get Sony Michel cut. You may get Raheem Mostert cut. You may get Myles Gaskin cut. And if that were to occur, then all of a sudden you're looking at that depth chart and you're saying, oh, okay, yeah, it's not as difficult to climb as we first thought, because you have to keep in mind they're paying him a crap ton of money guaranteed. Like Chase Edmonds got the bag. Chase Edmonds, you don't have to worry about him making the roster. Okay, Domenico coming out says, thanks for saying my name right. Cheers. No, thank you, my man, for coming out to the live stream. Thank you, everybody, for coming out supporting the channel. We are about to pass more likes on this live stream than we actually have live viewers right now. So that's unbelievable. Thank you so much for everybody going down there and dropping a like on the stream. We are about to be on the clock, so let me look away from the questions real quick. Exactly what you were wanting here. We want wide receivers to fall to us. More importantly, we want to get Juju Smith-Schuster falling. We're taking Juju here to stack with Patrick Mahomes. We're taking Rashad Bateman to get the Baltimore correlation with Mark Andrews underway. Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited about those selections. That's very exciting. That's very exciting. Let me know what y'all think of this start so far. Usually we do not have 0 wide receivers through the first 3 rounds, but I think we've done a decent job fixing this draft. And go use promo code FLOCK. Link in the description. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Get into drafts with us. Have some fun. Okay, so let's find our next question. This is coming out from Alex. Says, AJ Brown, Dawson Knox, a 2023 first, or Mark Andrews in a 2023 second in a tight end premium format. This is 2 points per reception for the tight end position, so you're definitely getting an extra bump here. I would still prefer probably, yeah, I think you have to prefer A.J. Brown and Dawson Knox in the 2023 first. Because if we break this down, even if you go, okay, hell, Mason, it's a crazy tight end premium league. You get 2 points per reception for the tight end position. Even if we say, we admit, it's crazy. You get 2 points for the tight end position. And we somehow say that Mark Andrews equals A.J. Brown in a 2023 first. Y'all know I love Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is one of my most drafted players in Dynasty and in Underdog redraft right now. But still, even in that crazy premium format, you still probably prefer A.J. Brown in the 2023 first. Then the leftover pieces are Dawson Knox or a second. And if you're telling me that this format is so crazy, that Mark Andrews is worth A.J. Brown in the 2023 first, Dawson Knox is worth a lot more than a second. So yeah, I'm going to prefer A.J. Brown, Dawson Knox in the 2023 first. Okay, so Brian says, a 12-team PPR Superflex 6-point passing touchdown format traded Justin Fields and Cole Kmet for Tom Brady, Cortland Sutton, and Rashad Penny. Rebuilding team, turning to a contender. I know you don't like Fields and Sutton, so wanted to get your thoughts. I'm probably not a big fan of it. I just am such a hater of Cortland Sutton. That's really what it comes down to. Like, it could very easily be a fair deal. If we could go through and if we could flip Cortland Sutton to someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'd be more excited about it. In a 6-point passing touchdown format, I will say Brady does get a bump up, given the fact that it doesn't matter if Justin Fields has more rushing upside. The passing volume is just going to dramatically outweigh it. Okay, so Jess says, with Alexander Madison having his contract expire next year, is his value increasing or decreasing? Maybe the potential to be the guy somewhere else. You just have to think about the draft class next year. There are going to be so many top running backs in next year's class that it's hard to imagine that he just walks into a spot where he is the top wide receiver there. So, I'm sorry, top running back there. So, probably not going to be going too high. And dear God, Derek's about to do it. Oh, no. Where did Hopkins go? Derek didn't get Hopkins? Hopkins went at the 605, way earlier than usual. Yeah, Hopkins goes at pick 65. Yeah, so Derek almost got Hopkins. He's gone 6 wide receivers straight. Okay, I think Derek is maybe shooting himself in the foot at this point. Okay, now if we're on the clock in 5 picks. We can look at that in a little bit. But let's find our next question. This is coming out from Snaz Apple. Says, I'm in a full rebuild, but I have Derrick Henry trapped on my team. What should I look to trade him for in a non-Superflex format? That's such a vague question, my man. You could look to trade him for almost anything. It's way too vague of a question. I will say, on a rebuilding roster, you do need to look to trade him. Okay, so our next question coming up from Matt says, won my Dynasty League last year, and I have the 105 this season. I don't need a week 1 starter, and I like the upside of Jameson Williams over Olave and Wilson. What are your thoughts? I think you are a crazy person. I don't care what you need. No, we are going to be taking Garrett Wilson over Jameson Williams. Garrett Wilson dominated Jameson Williams on that same roster at the same age in 2020. Jameson Williams is not as good of a prospect as Garrett Wilson from any way you cut it. He's not. Well, let's just go through and let's please take Garrett Wilson. Okay. Lockett goes. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. We took Najee Harris as well, so we only have to grab 2 RBs. We're probably going to end up going 2, 5, 8, 2, especially if we grab Dalton Schultz or TJ Hawkinson here. Oh my gosh, we're gonna push the envelope here. I know not too many people are gonna like this. We're going to go Dak and Dalton Schultz. So now everybody knows what sucks is when you pick on the end tier and you have your quarterback and tight end position just figured out like this. Everybody knows, like, Final Fantasy Draft is literally in this live stream listening to me, so he knows he'll never have to take a quarterback or a tight end coming into our pick because I can't take quarterback or tight end. But based on where these values fell and based on the stacks that we were able to accomplish, I actually really like the upside of this team. And if we go through and we look at this draft board, you have Jalen Hurts and Tom Brady going to the same roster as well. So if we monopolize Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott, what's going to end up happening is you are going to, and we monopolized Mark Andrews and Dalton Schultz. So what's going to end up happening is you will have some of these quarterbacks and tight ends now going higher later in these drafts. I know not a lot of people are going to like it. Please, let's just watch it play out. Watch it play out before we say anything. You already have someone reaching on Dallas Goedert here. I do think you are going to get quarterbacks and tight ends flying up the draft boards. Okay, so now let's find our next question. It's coming out, says, how you feel about Kenneth Walker and the Rashad Penny handcuff? I actually made a video on our main fantasy football channel talking about Kenneth Walker today. I think Kenneth Walker probably starts the year as the backup, but it doesn't really matter if you're looking at the fact that Rashad Penny just simply has never shown the ability to stay healthy. Okay, so now Chris coming out says, who do you think has the best chance of being a fantasy relevant tight end in this class? We already answered that one. Gabriel says, I have Kittle and Debo in a standard PPR format. Should I trade away one of them? I have Dalton Schultz as the backup tight end for Kittle. No, if you already have the correlation built into your roster there, why are we getting rid of it? No, it's the exact opposite. You should be excited about it. And if anything, we should be going out of our way and we should be looking to get an added player. Like maybe we go and grab Trey Lance to the situation because hell, if we were betting on the combination of George Kittle and Debo Samuel, if they work out, probably means Trey Lance works out as well from a fantasy football standpoint. Okay, Lucas says, traded Darnell Mooney and Ayuk for Jameson Williams and Mike Williams. I have Herbert, so he's got Trey Lance, who won. I think it works for both people. If you have Justin Herbert and he has Trey Lance, let me repeat this, traded Mooney and Ayuk for Jameson Williams and Mike Williams. I probably prefer the combination of the Williams. I probably prefer Mike and Jameson Williams. But yeah, good deal overall for both teams. Okay, so yeah, like you see, we take Dalton Schultz and Dak Prescott. Then you have Hawkinson, Goddard, Carr, Lance, Knox going off the board. So out of the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks, 5 of them are quarterback or tight end. Matthew Stafford going here as well. I'm really happy with what we did there. I think we will get some wide receiver and running back value falling to us. Yeah, you have Aaron Rodgers going at the 8-12. You just see a couple other teams monopolize these quarterbacks. Like you have Kyle here getting Russell Wilson and Derek Carr. Let's see what's available. Okay, perfect. It's going to shape up nicely for us. Oh, yeah, and the quarterbacks that are left, like there are very few QBs left over as well. There's Watson, Cousins. I think this will work out. Okay, let's find our next question as we wait, though. Our next one's going to be coming out from Mason. Says, would you trade away... Okay, that's worded poorly. I don't know what that says. Cody says, David Njoku and Nico Collins, or 2024 second projected early. Okay, I thought for a second it said protected, as if it was an early pick. It was going to be protected and going back to the owner. I was like, oh, that's really cool if your Dynasty League has been implementing that, but never mind. I misread. So it's a 2024 second and Keel Shakir. I think I prefer Shakir over Nico Collins. I probably would say that Njoku's worth the second round pick. So honestly, it's up to you, my man. It's up to you. Okay, so fantasy draft on the clock here. See, this is what sucks is he knows I can't take Deshaun Watson, right? So even if he wants Watson, he doesn't have to take Watson here. He can just get Watson at the 110. So do we have any potential stacks? We have the stack with Gallup, so we're going to go Gallup. Do we have Marquez Valdez-Scantling available, or is he already gone? No, he's gone. We're not going to reach on Allen Lazard. Probably go Gallup and Robert Woods. Or should we just go Lazard? Spam the chat right now. Do you think we should go Robert Woods or Allen Lazard for our wide receiver 5 here? Robert Woods. Actually, no, we have Michael. If we're taking Michael Gallup and he's going to be out the beginning of the season regardless, I'm not going to want to pair Robert Woods on that same team then. So yeah, let's take Gallup to get the stack with Dak. And I think Robert Woods is the much better player in the vacuum, but we have to go with Lazard just given the fact that we have Gallup on the team. Okay. Let's go through, show this off. So we need running backs. We have Najee Harris holding down the fort for us. So we probably end up actually drafting 6 RBs now that we wait so long to take our second guy, but it is what it is. Okay, let's find our next question. This one's going to be coming out from Trey, who says, who is the number 2 pick in Dynasty? I'm assuming you're talking about a 12-team Dynasty Superflex startup. Most people at this point, it's crazy to see this. Most people are saying Justin Herbert based on some of the struggles that you've had from Patrick Mahomes last season. More importantly, the fact that they go through and they trade away Tyreek Hill. It's crazy to say. I still prefer Mahomes. I prefer Mahomes, but I'm telling you right now, probably most people in this chat would prefer Justin Herbert. Let me ask the chat. Who do y'all think is a better asset right now in a 12-team Dynasty Superflex League? Would you rather have Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes? Herbert or Mahomes, please just spam it over and over and over again so everybody can see this. Okay. So let's find our next question as we wait for this. Okay, Mahomes. Herbert, Mahomes, Herbert, Mahomes, Herbert, Devin Duvernay. Love it. Okay, so I think most people are saying Mahomes as well. I definitely would prefer Mahomes. Okay. Thomas says, do I consider trading Deonte Johnson for value elsewhere due to the increased uptick in receivers taking targets? Not necessarily. Like, if you think about it, while yes, you do get George Pickens added in, you also have James Washington leaving. You also have Juju Smith-Schuster leaving. You also have Eric Ebron leaving. You probably have a quarterback upgrade as well. I know that's crazy to say, but Ben Roethlisberger was horrible this past year. Okay, so Watson last all the way to the 10-11. Very, very interesting. I would have been so pissed if we got back up on the clock and Deshaun Watson was sitting there at the 11-12 for us. Okay, so our next one coming out from, let's just find something random here. I feel like we've answered the majority of these. Anthony says, damn, no contest for Nevada. Yeah, I'm very sorry. Underdog Fantasy, everything's completely regulated. So there are some states, some states just don't allow different DFS, yada, yada, yada. Let me look up the states that Underdog Fantasy does not allow. And of course, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. And when you use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. Please, please, please go take advantage of that. So the states that are currently not offering Underdog Fantasy: Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Idaho, Iowa, Louisiana, Michigan, Montana, Nevada, and Washington. So there are 10 states. The majority of those states has absolutely nobody in them. Please make sure, go sign up. Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK. Get our rankings, get our Dynasty rankings, get everything, and come beat us in some drafts. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. Ladies and gentlemen, this may be tough. Okay. So let's find our next question here. Jamir says, Garrett Wilson or Elijah Moore? Garrett Wilson, a better prospect coming in. I know Elijah Moore did flash his rookie season, but definitely a better prospect. Sean says, I need an elite running back to win my league. I have Jacobs, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Smith, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, and Garrett Wilson from the rookie draft. Where should I look? Right now, I would say if you are going to go through and if you're saying, I want to contend, I need to go through and make a play for someone. Real quick. I'm sorry. I'll get to your question in a second. We just got boxed out of running back. Oh my God. We just got destroyed at RB. We probably are going to have to reach in someone. Oh yeah, that's going to be a massive reach, but it is what it is. We're picking on the turn. I think we have a unique team, so I think we can possibly get away with it. I'm going to take Darrell Henderson here over these other guys. We'll go Rondell Moore as well. Oh, yeah. What we needed there is we needed to have a Rashad Penny. We needed Michael Carter. We needed Ramondre Stevenson. We needed Isaiah Spiller, Rashad White. We needed those players that are usually available at that turn to make it back to us. It didn't happen, so we just got screwed. Oh, that is brutal. We have a donation. Thank you so much for Kaepernick, who says 12-team half PPR. ETN, a 2025 first, second, and third, or Tyreek Hill and James Cook. We're going to go with Travis Etienne in the picks, but one thing that I really want to say is your Dynasty League should not allow trading 2025 picks. There's no reason for it. Even if you have to pay for the year, it's the quickest way to ruin a league. Just think through this. You are going to have to play through the 2022 season. Like right now, we still have 100 days until football kicks off. You have 100 days till football kicks off. Then we have to play an entire season, grind through an entire year. And then think about how long this offseason's been. You have an entire other offseason, and then we get to 2023. And then we have to play an entire year of football. And then we have an entire offseason. And then we get to the 2024 season. And then you have to go through an entire year of football. And then you still have half an offseason until that rookie pick's on the clock. In my opinion, there is no way, no reason, I apologize, to go through and trade for those 2025 picks. Or it's not your fault that the league has them open, but just as a commissioner, it pains me to see that. It does. And Jack says, I'm confused as how we possibly join a draft once we sign up for Underdog. So like what you saw whenever we got into this draft, we just went through and we signed up for Best Ball Mania. I showed it on the live stream. You're going to have to be in the live stream if you want to come out and get in a draft with us, unless you get random and you're in a draft with us. Like a ton of people are every single morning. Like every single time we live stream, someone says, oh, I was in a draft with you this morning at like 8 a.m. But if you want to get in a draft on the live stream, you'll have to be at the live stream and you will see me go, okay, this is the draft we are entering. Boom, click it. There are 8 spots open and then 8 people join. Like it took about like probably 90 seconds for this draft to fill. Okay, so Shuey says, is Cam Akers an absolute lock to have the starter spot in the Los Angeles Rams backfield? He is not a lock by the definition of the word. Like I went through and I took Darrell Henderson here for a reason. I think Henderson will have a small role in upside for more if you have Akers go down. But he is the heavy favorite. He is the most talented player there. Okay, so we have none coming out. Says Breece Hall, a 2023 101. I am just going to ignore the fact that it's probably not the guaranteed 101, because it makes me very mad when people go early, late. We've been through this. But if somehow you have a crystal ball, you know exactly what's happening this season, and it's the 101, we prefer Breece Hall in the 101 versus Justin Jefferson. Yes, we do. Okay, so now let's go. Will says, have your thoughts changed on Isaiah Spiller since him being drafted by the Chargers? No, I thought that going into the NFL draft, he was dramatically overvalued and he should have been going in the middle of round 2 for Dynasty rookie drafts. And now he is going in the middle of round 2 in Dynasty rookie drafts. So no, I don't necessarily think my opinions changed. It's just that his value plummeted because the lack of draft capital. I didn't really move him down because it was almost baked into the projection. And on top of that, this was a player that did land in a good spot. Okay, we're just going to have to go through and we're going to have to reach on running backs. It is what it is. What's nice is these teams have 4 or 5 running backs. These teams can't continue to go RB. But they do know we can't take a quarterback or a tight end. So, like, if you're here, T-Panthers, you have Justin Fields and Gesicki. I guess Final Fantasy can go quarterback or tight end, so you probably still consider it. But at least Final Fantasy knows he doesn't have to take a quarterback or a tight end. Parker has an ADP of 134. Dear God. Johan Dodson goes to the 13-10. Did something happen to Devontae Parker today? Please let me know in the chat ASAP if something happened to Parker. Final Fantasy Draft's probably going to take him. He only has 4 wide receivers. And like I said, he doesn't have, again, unless he wants to go 2 quarterbacks, he goes Corey Davis. Spam the chat right now if something happened to Devontae Parker. Because this may be a mistake. Well, this is the current plan here. Unless something... Okay. Erodus is Parker foot injury. You better not be trolling me. If you're trolling me, I'm going to be pissed. You're going to get banned. I'm going to search his name real quick. Okay. We're not going to trust the person in the chat. We're going to take Devontae Parker, pick 157. Yeah, the fantasy draft room says nothing on Devontae Parker. We will go ahead and take him. If he's trolling. I feel like we've had a run-in with this guy I wrote up before. I feel like he's done something before. We got our eyes on him. He trolls again. Get hit with a ban. You can come in here. You can tell me I'm ugly. You can tell me I'm stupid. That's allowed. But if we're on the clock in a real money draft, there's $2 million in the line here, my friend. $2 million in the line. You understand that? Come on, buddy. And you make us pass on Parker there? Psh, inexcusable. Okay. So Mr. Keeves says, thoughts on Ezekiel Elliott? I checked, and he was never worse than a running back 10 and played through injury last year, and he has the cash on his contract and is constantly the running back 17 off the board. I think we are fine with where Ezekiel Elliott's being drafted. He is in a very interesting tier in that he is going kind of as a standalone player. Like you have the chunk of running backs that go at the 2-3 turn. Then you have a large gap of receivers. And then you have Zeke and Cam Akers standing by themselves. And then you have a large gap again until you get to David Montgomery, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall. Breece Hall is before those guys, but still, same point. I think I'm fine. I think I'm fine with where he's being drafted. I just really prefer wide receivers in that range. At least if we're... Oh, I'm assuming this is Dynasty. If this is Dynasty, never mind. For a second, I thought we were talking Underdog. I had an Underdog mindset on. So if we're talking Dynasty Fantasy Football, I think with Ezekiel Elliott, I still probably prefer going and betting on Leonard Fournette. I still probably prefer going and betting on James Conner. Because I feel like you're actually having to pay up for those players in a redraft, like real money league, like Underdog Fantasy. Whereas in Dynasty, for whatever reason, Zeke actually has slightly more value. Okay, so let's find our next question. This is coming out from Brad. Says, I traded Juju Smith-Schuster and a future first for Tyreek Hill this offseason for a contending team. Is this a good move? I really don't like going through and trading away these future first at this moment. I really don't, but hell, If you're a contender, sure, go get Tyreek. If you made that deal before Tyreek was traded to Miami, I really like it. If you made it after he was traded to Miami, then it's a little questionable. Okay, Ashton says, where do you think Lance should be going in Superflex Dynasty startups? Early round 2, my friend. I know it's crazy to say early round 2. I'm not taking him there because you never have to, but if I'm answering where I think he should be going, that's where. Okay, so let's figure out what's going on. Quarterbacks flying down draft boards right now. Not a good look for us. Not a good look for us at all. Yeah, we need to draft 6 RBs on this team. 6 RBs and 8 wide receivers. Julio Jones goes. I guess maybe we can see some quarterbacks go off the board. You have 3 teams here with only 1 QB. You go Hayden Hurst, Mac Jones. And TP Panthers honestly could use another one. They only have Justin Fields and Daniel Jones. But we'll see. We'll see. He also only has 4 running backs. He only has 1 tight end. He knows we can't grab a quarterback. He knows we can't grab a tight end. He goes Logan Thomas. Interesting, because I honestly don't think you go Logan Thomas there. Unless you're going to grab another tight end on the way back round. But you know I can't draft the tight end. You know Final Fantasy draft can't. We're going to go Jamal Williams and then probably J.D. McKissic, right? Or Donta Foreman. In a best ball format, we'll go J.D. McKissic. In a traditional league, it's going to be better to take Donta Foreman because you'll be able to know when you need to start him. J.D. McKissic will be able to take advantage of the best ball format. And while our running backs a week, hell, none of them have the same bye week. Maybe we can try to spin it. That's a positive. Okay, so let's slide this around. So people talking about the Ezekiel Elliott injury that he played through. I'm not going to lie. I don't put too much stock into players playing through injury and then all of a sudden us writing off their season. Like if you go through and if you look at Ezekiel Elliott's carries per game, targets per game, yards per game, points per game, over the past 3 seasons since 2019, it is a straight linear line down. It's not like he was staying constant over the past 2 years and then like DeAndre Hopkins just plummets to nothing. No, he's been declining. This is a continued trend we've seen from Ezekiel Elliott. So it's interesting. Alberto says, are you watching Game 7 tonight, Mason? Yes, sir, I am. Hopefully, I am. We'll see. James Washington, Sammy Watkins in the middle of the 16th. And I guess, you know what? Now that I checked that it's 3:30, I probably have to bounce out of here. We just did pass 200 likes on the live stream, so thank you so much for everybody supporting the channel. And we are going to be doing this so freaking often. So if you want to get into drafts with us, if you want to support the channel, make sure you go to the link in the description. Use promo code FLOCK. When you use promo code FLOCK, they'll match your deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You will have some fun. You'll be able to get into drafts with us on the live stream. You'll get our Dynasty rankings. You'll get our Dynasty rookie rankings. You'll get our 2022 Dynasty rookie draft guide. So thank you all again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. And yeah, spend the rest of Sunday with your family. I'll see y'all tomorrow.